For this final audio, I wanted to tap on some of the questions you guys have had, and also go a little bit deeper on some of the things I've mentioned. One of the first things I want to start with is accessing grids and shape shifting, which are very similar. You guys have asked specifically how to access grids, and so I wanted to go deeper into that. First, I just want to talk about how to do it, and I'll explain a little bit as I'm going. So, number one thing is to know what you want to experience or feel or be. So the kind of experience you want to have, whatever grids you want to access, the first tip is just knowing what they are. And I know that may sound simple, but most of us don't know what we want. And I find that empaths specifically, and especially a lot of times, especially if you're the type of empath that kind of gets lost in other people and other people's lives and what they want to do and what they're feeling and what they're going through, you tend to not actually know what you want. You tend to be always in a sort of go with the flow space because we're used to being moved by the emotions and feelings of others. And so we just adjust ourselves accordingly. And we forget that we are actually the ones that can carve our paths of what we want to experience and feel. And so the first step is knowing what you want and knowing that you can have an active energy to create it rather than a reactive space. So often we are very much in just a reactive space. We're constantly reacting to the things that are happening around us and happening to us. But what we can do and what we need to realize when we want to access new grids, and experience new experiences in our lives, that we need to know what we want first. So I recommend writing down, what do you want? What do you want to experience next? What do you want to be a part of your life? What kind of new grids do you want to hang out in? And write them down. And then find someone or something that you can feel out that carries that energy of the grids you want to access. So I think a person, if you know anyone, like let's say you want to create a lot of abundance in your life, finding someone who has a lot of abundance and who has a lot of freedom, it's best to find someone that has that and then explore their aura, which is what you're really good at. Explore their grids and their energy. If you don't know anyone that is currently experiencing what you want to experience, you can maybe find a movie where a character in it is that, or watch documentaries about, or read a biography of someone who did have that. And you'll be able to pick up more than you even realize. So find someone or something that you can study. And I specifically wrote some things down about this. What I do, now this is, I think, how we experience that person depends on our particular form of empathy. So for me, mine is clairsentience and emotional empathy. So I can feel a person's emotion. So for me, what I do is tune into what's that emotion that they're feeling that is abundance, that where they don't, it's not even part of their consciousness to have a need, a physical need. They know all their needs are going to be met. And I tune into that emotion and what it feels like. And I let that emotion just fill up my whole body. If you're someone who's an intellectual empath, that you just know things and you don't necessarily experience it emotionally, then it might be even easier for you, because you can ask like intellectually to yourself, like, what is it that they're feeling and thinking, to be able to access that kind of energy and tune into the kind of energy of abundance. And if you are someone who is more of a verbal a verbal empath, how does this person speak? What do they say? What are the kind of words they're using that are attracting that frequency into their life? And then you start using those words, if that makes sense. So discover first what your first and most primary form of empathy is, and then use that to access that person or that character, to find out how they spend their time and their energy in those grids. And then I would look for resistance within you. If you have a huge resistance in you or block towards abundance, then you're going to find that when you try to tap into them, typically you'll find a block within you, and it might be difficult for you to tap into that emotion of abundance because you have a block. So look for that. Look for where you feel resistance. And then ask, where is this resistance coming from? What happened in my life that caused this resistance in me? Or what kind of thoughts or emotions or feelings or words have I been using that have been building this blockage within me? And a lot of times we'll find, especially for like abundance issues, there's somewhere along the line a sense of, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this, I'm not worthy. So you'll usually find your way to that feeling within you, or whatever it is that's blocking you. And then when you find it, let go of the resistance, either by sinking into the feeling, like I talked about, when sometimes we have feelings that we're resisting so strongly that what we actually need to do is sink into them and sort of drop out the bottom of them so we can work our way up the emotional scale. So either sink into it if that feels like resistance, but if that doesn't feel like resistance, then work your way out up the emotional scale. So that's the video that I talked about where if you're feeling powerlessness, try to move to the next emotional space, which might be anger. And then from anger, try to move, like, and allow yourself to go through those emotions, but intentionally try to work yourself up the emotional scale. And like I said, if you're feeling resistance to that, then allow yourself to sink into whatever you're feeling. But whatever you do, release resistance to the emotion or to the blockage that you're feeling. And then transmute the energy. Obviously, working your way up the emotional scale is transmuting energy. But another way you can transmute it is, for example, if you found that the resistance that you have to abundance, I'm just using that as an example, is I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough, then make a new statement for that, which is, I'm worthy of receiving all the abundance that the universe has to offer me, and use that affirmation and say it over and over and over as much as you can until you start finding that blockage dissolve. And once it dissolves, you'll be able to really enter into those grids and feel them out and explore them. And once you're able to access those grids, whatever they are, and you can feel what it's like to, in this case, what that would feel like. Spend as much time in that grid as you can. So wake up every morning and just tell yourself, okay, I'm imagining that I have abundance, pure abundance. I don't have to worry about anything, that I don't have to, I'm imagining, and it's like you're playing a role. It's like that whole fake it till you make it. You just imagine you're an actress and you're playing in a movie or whatever, but imagine that you don't have that blockage, that you are abundant, or whatever it is that you're trying to access or experience, and do it as much as you can. I recommend doing it for a month straight, and depending on how much resistance you have to the particular topic, you may not even need that much time. But here's a tip that I have, and I'm going to end it here in terms of this topic, is start with something that you have little to no resistance to. So start just to practice filling out grids. Start with something that you don't have any resistance to. Like, I'm going to explore what it feels like to, I don't know, what's something I don't have resistance to travel a lot. Okay, I already do travel a lot, and I have traveled, so I don't really have any resistance to that. That's an easy thing for me. But I want more traveling in my life. So I'm going to start filling out the grids of someone who travels all the time and travels to different countries and just travels, like traveling, so that I can experience more of that in my life. I don't really have very much resistance to it because it's always been my life. I've always traveled quite a bit. So that's something that I would work with first, and just spend, however many days and every moment that I can really accessing those grids. So I would start with something that you have little to no resistance to, even if it's not something that you necessarily want to experience, just something that can show you and help your mind see that you can do this and that it's quite easy. So that's my information on how to access grids, which goes along into shapeshifting, but I'm going to do another separate audio on shapeshifting, and I will hopefully upload that today as well. But if it gets up tomorrow, then I guess this class is just being extended. So I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll talk to you soon.